This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
All right.
All right, it is the 217 Recovery Podcast. Yeah, earlier I didn't have the settings right, so you couldn't really hear us. But I now figured that out, obviously. Yeah, still at Porch-A-Palooza. It is the inaugural event here at Addiction Treatment Services in Traverse City, Michigan. It's a beautiful place, man. The Porch. It's 1010 South Garfield Avenue in Traverse City. And this is an event for anybody in recovery, anybody who wants to be in recovery, interested. You're like, what is recovery? That means I don't do drugs. And if this is your first time listening, welcome, but I don't think it is. It could be. It really well could be. But we're going to do a special episode from Porch-A-Palooza right now. And I just want to give a big shout out. Thanks to 9 to 10 News. We have Image 360, big thanks to them, and the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, thanks, and Northern Michigan Regional Entity, Honor Bank, Higher Self, Skywood Recovery, I was talking with that guy a little bit ago, and Edson Farms. Thanks. Now, joining me, of course, Justin is back. Tyrone's kind of chilling right now. Justin, welcome back. And special guest, Matt. Matt S. will call you.
Hi. Ooh, I like that.
It just got real.
Yeah.
So Matt was telling us we were talking about starting a podcast and and stuff like that, and I was like, I hope anybody. And you said, I kind of thought about maybe talking a little bit about something. And you're talking about going to graveyards and haunted locations and starting like a haunted podcast.
Yeah, like kind of like ghost hunting almost. Like I even looked into like EMF readers. I bought a thermometer to look for cold spots.
Nice.
And so, yeah, it was a couple coworkers were like, we're going to a really haunted cemetery. And I'm like, I want to go.
So you're familiar with Ghost Hunters, that show?
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe, right? That's like the thing that I want to do this because I'm skeptical and I want to believe.
Did you see the episode? It was probably 10 years ago now. They did it live on Halloween and they got called out.
Yeah.
Because they like faked some stuff and...
Yeah, and that's what makes me skeptical of the whole process.
Yeah. I lived in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and they came there and they met up with the actual ghost people who really did that stuff for real and don't make stuff up. And I asked them, like, so what? And they were like, let's just say they went to school for that stuff. They went to school for television production, And I'm like, oh.
They want to tell a good story.
Right. And it's funny because you can watch season 25 or 26, whatever they're on now, and they get so surprised when they catch a ghost. When they catch a voice, they go, oh, my God, I can't believe it. And I'm like, well, why? That's what you're doing.
Right.
Like if I was out mining for gold or something and I hit gold, I wouldn't be like, oh, my God, I got some gold. I'd be like, about damn effing time,
Yeah.
Like that's what I would be saying. Like, yeah, finally, thank God.
Yeah.
And all they say is get out or no or yes, like, come on, man. Again, I have a little experience with this, Matt. I don't think I've ever told you this. I was touched by a ghost.
Really? Okay, so I need to hear this because I am interested in everybody's ghost stories.
I was like you. Like, I was on the radio in Fort Smith, Arkansas, in many other cities, just bashing ghost hunters. I used to, I did this whole bit where it was like, oh, what kind of job do you keep your job when you don't get results? Like ghost hunters.
Yeah.
That show. I was like, this is stupid. Like these people are like, who are they scamming? They don't ever catch any ghosts at the end of it. How many seasons do we have to watch?
Search for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like they never find Bigfoot.
Yeah. I mean, pay me, I'll film some stuff. Yeah, I'm like, these guys got this craziest job ever. So I would say that stuff, and then the local ghost hunter crew came and they did the radio station because a buddy of mine was like, man, my keys fell off my desk. I'm like, okay, call them. So we called them. They came out to the radio station and they did their thing, and they came back to us and they're like, well, this is weird. We didn't catch any voices. We didn't hear nothing like that. But our camera that we have set up, it only moves up and down. Like it's on this tripod thing, and it only goes up or down. It was moving like somebody was taking it and turning it to the left.
Okay.
Which was, okay, and who's doing that?
Right.
No, they had another camera on the hall. Like, there's nobody there doing it. So that was kind of weird. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but still very skeptical. And they were like, hey, we're having this event to raise money for charity. Will you help talk about us? We'll give you some tickets. And I was like, okay. So they gave me some tickets, and it was like this haunted mental hospital, sanitarium, or whatever they would call them.
Okay.
And it was like 4 floors, and I was like, okay, I'll go there. So I took this woman who I was trying to get up on, right?
Okay.
I was like, oh, I'll take her, haunted thing.
Okay.
Well, it turns out she doesn't like men, so it was a whole total failure. Yeah, it was disaster. That's how I roll. That's what I
Okay,
do.
fair enough.
You know, let's go
Yeah.
for the ones that you have no chance at all. Okay.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
So I'm thinking in this place, and I was like, man, this is stupid. Like, this is dumb. Like, what are we doing here? You know, like, and there we go through the hall, and it was kind of cool, like seeing creepy old stuff.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, everybody's done. Now lean against the wall and look down the hallway. And I'm like, okay. And I look down the hallway. They're like, see, there's a shadow person. I'm like, I don't see it. Of course, I don't
Right.
see well anyway.
Yeah.
At that time, I was still in denial. And I was like, this is so stupid. And they told us, they're like, don't stand in front of the doorways, you know, because they'll come out and touch you. And I'm like, in one ear, out the other.
Yeah.
Until we get to the final floor. And I'm just like, okay. Have my hands in my hoodie. And I feel something touch me in my arm. And I'm like, what the And I look down, and I'm at the end of the line, and something touched my arm, and I'm like, what the And I'm like, okay. And I thought, oh, this chick's messing with me, but she was on my right-hand side, and I touched her, and she had her hands in her hoodie. She's like, what are you doing? You know? And I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to cop a feel on you. But I thought, what the hell? So I turned on my flashlight, and that pissed everybody off. They're like, turn that off. I'm like, no, something just touched me. And they're like, yeah, that's probably a ghost. I'm like, well, then I refuse to turn my flashlight off.
Yeah. I don't think I would
entire
either.
time. Now people were pissed. Like, turn that effing flashlight off. I was like, no, something touched me, and I don't want to be touched again.
Yeah.
Like, it really freaked me out.
Yeah.
So
we, so we went to Nunica Cemetery, and like we went because they're like, oh, this is like one of the most haunted cemeteries in Michigan, and it's like, of course, like I want to go do that.
Yeah.
And it was formed in like 1883, something like that. But some of the cemeteries, or some of the grave sites, dated pre that. And I'll show you a picture. I have a picture of the grave site. I think the name on it is Ralph, and it is like carved out of anger.
damn.
Like, it is creepy looking. Clearly, the person who made this headstone did not like Ralph.
Or maybe they just had bad penmanship.
I don't know, because everyone around it was good, right? Like, it was like really neat looking, and then this one is just like carved in, like with a chisel and just anger. You can feel the anger from it.
Dang.
Wow.
And so, like, I went in, I'm like skeptical. I really want to believe all this stuff, and everybody has their ghost stories. I grew up in a house, my siblings were like, I saw a ghost, and I'm like, I never fucking see a ghost. I'm like, it's not fair.
I want to.
And so I was like, we go, and I was sitting there when they said it, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go in. I'm going to be open-minded, right? Because I don't want to be like that closed-off dick, and like, I just want to be open-minded. I tried that with everything. And so we get there the first night, and it was cool, right? Like, there was a point, though, like, we first got there, and I get out, and it sounds weird, but my left foot was going forward, and my right foot just didn't want to move.
Whoa.
And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then the people I'm with, the two ladies I'm with, have their phones, and they downloaded apps. And I don't, I'm like, these are apps that someone created. I don't know how well they'd be for, like, ghost hunting, right? Like, I don't know. But they're like, there's stuff over here. They're chasing it. And I'm like, this
is silly.
I'm not chasing. Why do you want to go toward it?
You're going to get Pokemon or whatever.
There was kind of that, but I'm like, what if there is something and you'd, like, piss it off? I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Was there a plan for that? Like, hey,
No, I
if
just
we get
stood away
attacked by a
from
ghost, this is what we do. We run to the car. If you
No.
last one in, sorry.
God. No, I did tell, kind of, because I told them, I was like, you guys just go. I'm not running. I was like, it could just take me. I'm like, I don't
up.
run. I'm
Running,
physically, I'm
eaten by
not
a
a
ghost,
runner.
whatever.
So-
Have my soul stolen. Nah, I'm just going to chill out over here.
To be honest, the other thing in my mind that was right, I'm huge into slasher movies. They're my favorite kind of horror movie. And I'm like, this is how they all start. You have people in a cemetery, and then a 6-foot guy in a machete comes out and, like, cuts them all into pieces.
Yeah.
And that's what I kept thinking about, like, this whole time we were in the cemetery. And so that was where my mind was, right? I'm like, okay, there's ghosts, but I'm also like, I don't trust people. People can do fucked up things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is dark and spooky, and it's fine. So I start, and then they're talking and walking toward things, and there was a flag moving that was creeping me out because there was zero wind, and so I just kind of, like, fixated on that for a while. That first night was fine. It wasn't until the second night that things got more interesting.
Really?
Yeah, so the people I was with decided they wanted to do a seance.
This is, nah.
And one of them was like, no Ouija boards. So she wouldn't let us
That's
do a
smart,
Ouija board.
very smart.
I looked everywhere. I drove I drove around that town looking for a Ouija board because I was like,
I'm glad you didn't find one.
I want this. I want to find one.
No, you don't.
I do.
No.
And now I've actually looked on like Etsy, and there's some really badass looking Ouija boards that I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy one of these. For sure. No. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. We bought candles. We read into it. They're like, hey, you should like read this Bible verse.
Oh, no.
Like all these ways to do a seance, and they all recommended a Ouija board, but we were shut down for that. That part wasn't going to happen. I'm like, well,
I'm getting nervous over here just in my chair.
So we get all the stuff, and we pull into the cemetery that night, and all of us were like, we're not supposed to be here. Like we just had that feeling, right? You get a feeling of like unwelcomeness. It was like, this is not okay, but we went anyway, and so we kept going in there. And again, I'm like, this horror movie in my head. I keep thinking horror movie. Like we're ignoring our feelings. Our gut instinct says don't do this, and we do.
You brought just about everything to invite Satan to hang out with you. You know, like
I
would be worried.
Yeah, right.
Here's my thought. I'm a therapist, and I like to see the good in people. Right? Like I genuinely think people are
Satan,
good.
Now I want to meet you and tell you that you're a good demon.
So why would I assume ghosts
God
are
had
bad?
it wrong.
Like, how do we know ghosts are just people? Maybe they're bored. Maybe they fuck with us because they're bored. They've been dead for so long, and they're bored.
Well,
I don't know.
I'll tell you all about it in just a minute, because I'm the 217 recovery paranormal expert analysis guy.
So
person.
There was a spot we were gonna do, and there was this trail, and it was dark, and I'm like, I'm not walking down that trail. I don't know what's down there.
Good idea.
It was funny. I'll get to the point where we went back the next day during the day, and this was it was fine. But I was like, I'm not going down the trail. And I was like, frankly, at this spot, I'm not getting out of the car. I said that. I'm like, I'm not touching the ground outside of the car right now.
Did you wait till like 2 a.m. devil's hour or whatever?
It's about midnight.
Okay, so you didn't wait long enough.
No, I thank God.
Thank God is right. God is who you should thank for this, you know.
So we drove around for a little bit, and our driver was like, all right, we're just doing it right here. And she pulls off to the side.
Like sex stuff or?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. She's like, this is where so we get out, and the whole time, I'm like, there's like people behind. I just feel shit behind me. I'm like, there's things behind me. There's stuff that just doesn't feel right.
Is it tingle like you just
yeah? And there was a point where like my whole arm just started tingling and shaking, and I couldn't explain that. I still can't. But then I'm like, maybe I just psyched myself out. Like I try to look at things both ways. Maybe there was something telling me not to be there. Maybe I just psyched myself out.
I don't know. But
so the person was like, we're just doing this over here. And she just marches over to the spot next to these headstones. And she's just like, this is where we're doing it. She lays out these blankets. And then the other one starts putting the salt circle around us. And then they start dressing the candle with like herbs and essential oil and just all kinds of weird stuff.
Did you say this is where you said Satan's prayer?
This is where I'm like, this is getting more legit. I was like, okay, this is different. And we all sit down on the ground, and they start playing Psalm on repeat on YouTube. Like we find the verse, and it's just on repeat.
But you didn't say it yourself?
Nope, we just had some pastor on YouTube saying it and rewinding it and doing it again.
Was it creepy?
It was, because it's that whole, I don't know it, but it's like that walk through the valley of shadow of death, and it was that whole one.
You could have played Coolio's song.
That's what I thought, but it was when we read about seances, that was the verse they told us to look into. And so we were like, all right, let's try it. Maybe that'll protect us, that and the salt.
See, I think you're supposed to be like, hey, you punk ass bitch.
Well, no,
devils.
so they just kept verbally being like, we're here in peace. We're here. And I'm just on edge. I'm like, there's shit behind me. I'm like, this is not comfortable. I was like, okay.
Well, it depends where you're getting your info, what you're reading. But when I was in Fort Smith, this guy had an altar to Satan built. And he said he would talk to Satan, but he had to kill like a bunch of chickens and like spread the blood all over.
Yep.
So, I mean, you could do that route, but, then he ended up like killing somebody with a sword in the back alley. But he's in prison now. You could probably write him.
I would imagine.
Yeah, he was
That's
a
big
different.
red flag. Killing
Portsmouth,
animals.
Arkansas. Don't go. I mean, I met some great people there, but I'm just saying, if you're looking for a place to live,
don't go there.
It's cheap, but there's a reason it's cheap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
and so I think part of it, we went down kind of blind, right? The first night we went in, we had heard this is the most haunted cemetery. We didn't do a lot of reading into it.
Right.
We just went.
That's fun, though.
So we were down there for a couple nights. So the second day, we actually started reading like other people's experiences. There's like a little girl that tries to hold people's hands.
Damn,
like people
dog.
get like cold hands and like they'll get temperature readings. There's an old man that apparently gets frisky with ladies, like some Civil War veteran named Joel Bond.
I wonder.
And I'm like, that's James Bond's American cousin.
I wonder if he could tell a difference, like if you just like dressed up as a woman.
Yeah, I don't know. So they all thought that was cool. Like, so there was some stories. So I'm like, did we just hype ourselves up and like psych ourselves out because we were like wanting this? So we're just trying to get into this whole seance thing, and then out of nowhere, these 3 motorcycles just blast by, and we're in the middle of the cemetery. It's so disrespectful. I think that's part of it, is right? Just the utter disrespect of they were hooting and hollering and just like being dicks. And I think kids, but I'm also like, they could have been like 50, and I don't know, who knows,
Right.
And they get off, and I'm like, all they could have saw of us was like maybe a little bit of a phone glow and the candlelight, and our candle was tiny. And so they get off and they just start like this laugh I heard, like it felt, my guess is Gotham City, how people hear the like the Joker laughs. Like that's, the laugh was just evil. It was just it was just an evil laugh, and I'm like, you're in touch with a whole other level of. And so then my mind went to like The Strangers, where like 3 people just like fuck with a couple all night until they kill them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, these are real, tangible people.
Like, we should probably leave.
Yeah. And so what I thought was maybe pushes me toward the side of maybe we felt something was that unwelcome feeling. If we didn't have had that, we would have stopped at a spot that those motorcycles would have run us over. Like the original spot, they would have blown right through us.
Did they have headlights?
Yeah, but
Well,
they didn't.
I mean-
Yeah, but they were not, like, they seriously just came out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, there was just headlights.
Maybe they were ghosts.
I mean, I had that thought too, but that one, I feel like that's pushing it.
It is pushing it. It's probably just some crazy people trying to have a good time. They saw you guys out there and they're like, hey, let's F with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than likely that's
I would have
really
been
what
like,
happened.
We're going to get ya.
So, but I mean, you see
I want
people,
my golden leg or something, you know?
yeah, like
That's
you
more
see people doing
logical.
that, you fuck with them.
Well, I thought I saw a ghost one time, but again, I was drinking heavily, but I wasn't drunk at this time. I went to buy a vacuum. My parents were coming to visit, again, Arkansas. And I go in my house, I open the door, I look down the hall, and I had like a security system to where like it would have been blown up, you know? And I look down the hall and I see this dude in a white t-shirt, jeans, kind of hair to his kind of his shoulders, and he walked from my bathroom like through the hallway into my kitchen, and I just was like, whoa. I was like, hey. And I yelled, I threw down the vacuum, I ran in the kitchen, nothing there. And I was like, what the F? And I was so confused, and I go and I check my alarm, and I'm like, nobody's entered, nobody left. And I was like, what the like, it's so weird when those things happen, and like doors would like slam shut, and like it's so weird because I would go try to figure it out. I'd be like, hey man, like what just happened here, you know? And I could never figure it out, and that's when it would like kick me, you know, and like faucets turning on full blast, and like what just happened there? And it was a time where that kind of stuff was happening more and more at the house, and so there's an app, and I'm like, okay, and the person was like, oh well, get this app and we'll talk to the ghost. I'm like, I don't really want to talk to the ghost.
Yeah.
And so the person was like, I refused to pay with anything of my name. So she went out to her car, got her stuff or whatever, and she paid, put the app, her name, and she's playing with it. And she's like, oh, do you know my boyfriend, whatever, and where he's from? What do you call him? And it said Yankee. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It just spitting
Okay.
out stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, do you know where he's from? And it said Mitten. I'm like, well, why doesn't it just say effing Michigan? You know, like why is it playing games?
Yeah.
You know, and she's like, oh, and it said kitchen, and I'm like, all right. So we go in the kitchen, and he's like, what are you? Where are you? And he said it was 14, died of car accident, like all this stuff. I mean, it's answering like right back, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's probably somebody listening in, like that little button you click, you accept all terms, whatever. There's somebody listening in, typing some shit, you know.
I mean, it's a lot of work though.
But Yankee, Michigan, all this stuff. And
Yeah.
this is where it gets really creepy because, like I said, my name wasn't associated with it. And she's like, do you know what my boyfriend looks like? It said goatee, earrings. That time I wore earrings. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, what's his name? And it said Winfield. And I was like, turn that off.
Oh,
turn
that's-
that off.
that's creepy.
I was like, that is not. She's
Yeah.
like, but I want to talk to my mom. I'm like, no, we're not talking. That's devil. That's Satan. That's a
How do
spirit.
you know though?
She had told me. She busted out the Ouija board.
No, but how do you know it's the devil? How do you know it's evil? You're assuming.
Because my grandma loves me a lot, and she'd be down here like going, "What's up?" Like it wouldn't.
Like, how do you know it's not your grandma?
Because heaven's pretty badass.
Yeah,
so
but
I've heard.
You don't think they like come look at you, watch you, like just make sure
I
you're
hope
okay?
not. No, so,
not at all times, not 24/7, but just moments
now
where they're like.
Now we're gonna go from ghost to time
That's
travel.
scary.
This is awesome. I think that they're on a different realm where time is, so like for us, it seems like 70 years. For them, nothing. So I don't really think they have time to come back, because they're just like, they'll be here in like 1, 2, 3, bam.
Maybe.
And then if somebody's like, man, I died too young, I didn't get any sex. And they're like, well, you can go back, but you're going to forget everything. That's all right.
Maybe.
Because I think that's the beauty of life is that we get to feel. I think when you're on the other side, you don't get to touch. You don't get to feel, like.
Okay, so what do you think all this stuff is then? Evil presence then?
Yeah.
But what if it's not, though? What if it's not something we know? Like, maybe it's not people, but how do we know it's an evil presence? Like, how do we know it's malicious? There's something behind it. Well, how do we know it's not just somebody that wants us to know they're there? Because I would imagine it's boring.
Well, because I think it's Satan. I think Satan's bad, but some people think Satan's good. I'm just saying.
My other thought was, aren't like ghosts supposed to haunt like where they die?
No.
Like that was my thought, right? Like if you die viciously, like if this violent, like isn't that usually where your spirit stays?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's how I always thought.
Yeah.
So
Tyrone,
like a graveyard is just their resting spot, right?
Tyrone, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
Oh man, spooky.
Tyrone, where are you going to haunt?
Probably haunting East Jordan, Michigan.
Yeah?
Okay, so
Not Detroit?
No.
Not going to go to East Course, E-Course, and be like, here I am, boogity boo.
Well, Eco's already spooked, so I think we're going to stick with East Jordan.
I will say that this experience, I have planned out my headstone. So, for the first time ever, it was a brand new headstone, right? This person had just passed. There was a QR code on it. And I'm like, that's weird. Why is there a QR code on this person's like stuff, right? So then I'm like, maybe it links to a video, right? Like a memorial video or something like that. But I want a QR code, but when you scan it, I want to like jump scare somebody. Like I wanted to scare, like I wanted to be like nothingness, like well that was pointless, and then all of a sudden I know where like my face just pops up, yeah, like, and then I was like, I got thinking further, and I'm like, I want to install like a motion sensor in it, and so like fog starts like coming around my headstone. I'm hoping I die like old, so maybe by that time we'll have like hologram,
Yeah,
like
little 3D,
so, like,
hit a
that,
button
like,
and there's you.
like, it looks like a ghost me. Like
Thanks for
popping
stopping
Yeah,
by.
like, I just want to mess with people. I want to mess with people like me that come into the cemetery.
I'm watching you.
Yeah. I was like, I want to rig my entire headstone up just to mess with people.
That could get pretty interesting.
that would be funny.
It'd be creepy.
But it turned out the QR code was just so you could help somebody find their family member. It like took it to a
Oh.
website, and it's like, oh, help this person like locate this grave finder thing. It was like, that's neat, but I want to change it.
Yeah, you'd have to.
If there's a QR code on my thing, I want it to be fun.
Yeah, and that's just wishing that, well, maybe one day QR codes will still be around because they won't. Just saying. But you never know.
The technology exists, though, so like,
In 1,000 years,
there.
they could go, well, let's figure out how to read that.
I'm not going to live for 1,000 years, though.
No, but
Like,
but with your tombstone,
although,
yeah.
I mean, if given the chance. I
When are they
totally
going to
would.
start burying over them?
Well, actually, so this cemetery, we read into it was put on an Indian burial ground.
Yeah, that's see. So
That's why
that
it's so
probably is
haunted.
really haunted, man. If it
And
is
so
to
I'm
be
part
haunted.
native, so I was like, do I get a pass? Like, I got my tribal symbol tattooed on me. Like, I'm like, do I get a pass so they don't like really mess with me? I was kind of hoping that. I'm like, like maybe that'll really keep the malevolent, evil stuff away.
I just say stay away from the Ouija board. I don't think it brings any good things because
okay, but
I
if
did not have any other problems in that house except, well, there was another door shutting, but not until that Ouija board was brought into play.
Okay, but if I'm thinking about it from like, okay, let's say I'd like want to pursue this like haunted podcast deal, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, wouldn't I want to have like good things to talk about? And I feel like that would open it, right? Like I'm closing myself off to a thing
yeah,
to
I mean,
speak about if I don't.
I
have a Ouija
personally
board.
want to. I mean, but that's you can do whatever. You could do that, to make it more like, hey, I'm experienced. Like we do a recovery podcast.
Right? Like
I mean, you
just
wouldn't know by
try.
listening to this one.
No, yeah, I mean, hey, this is one of the things I talk about in one of my groups I run is like having conversations like this are important in life, right? Just like showing, hey, you can just have fun conversations. You don't have to have drinking or alcohol,
Right.
any of that stuff involved with it.
Right.
Right? You just sit there and have a conversation that.
Yeah, and these are hobbies, healthy things. Like the podcast is something that I do, keep myself sober. And then, you're talking about that stuff, and I'm interested in the paranormal and ghosts and stuff like that. So yeah, like I just thought, man, let's get on and do it real quick. Let's talk about it.
I start going like big picture, like not like way big, right? I'm like, we live in a place where there's like a state hospital.
Yeah,
how cool would that
did you
be?
ever check that out?
Like I want it's on the
Let's
list
go.
now. Right?
I'm
like,
with you.
that,
Justin and Tyrone said they'd go.
I'm for sure.
So
I
like
wanna go
that
check
would be
that out.
fun. And then I'm like, where like in the U.S. would there be like Gettysburg would be a great place to go to at night? That I imagine that would be pretty haunted.
I just told you not to go to Fort Smith, Arkansas, but Fort Smith, Arkansas, they had a judge that would just hang people.
Yeah, Salem.
The Ghost Adventures people went to Fort Smith, so and
I'm sure thousands of them have already gone to Salem, but
Yeah.
I want to go to Salem.
yeah,
Like it'd just be fun, and then, like it'd be cool. Like I don't know. I like history. I want to experience paranormal stuff.
and the beauty of it, you don't have to have any evidence.
No,
Like we actually had the ghost hunter people come out to our house, and like I was still so skeptical.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, we heard this here," and it was like, burp, burp. And I'm like, "That's the dog, stupid." They're like, "Remember, we're stupid. You took the dog with you." And I
Yeah.
said, "Oh." They're like, "That's a chair in the kitchen." I'm like, "Why the f was it moving across the floor like that?"
Yeah.
And they're like, and then this, boom, because they asked, "Are you here with us?" And somebody hit the wall, and I'm like, "Why are you guys playing games?" They're like, "That wasn't us." And then they kept playing this clip for me over and over, and they're like, "Do you hear that?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "What?" What?
it's the kind of thing you need, right? I've looked into Since the Cemetery.
The voice was so clear, Matt. I thought it was one of them. I was like, all I hear is you guys saying, "Hey, who's this?" They're like, "That's not us." And I was like, "Huh?" Like that freaked me out, like for real. Because I was like, I was waiting for a hi or this. I was waiting for some get out, and all I heard was just like, "Hey, who's this?" Just clear as day. And I'm like, I hear you guys. That's it. Because they kept saying, "You don't hear that?" I'm like, no.
But to me, I go back to like, okay, is that real or is there a placebo effect to it?
And they could be playing games,
Human
but there was
mind
nothing for them. They weren't getting money for it. They weren't going to
Yeah.
be famous. Like they didn't put any of their stuff online because that's what they say never do. Because they've had other people that are supposed to be investigators will go to their website, steal their stuff, and then claim it's theirs, which was really weird. I didn't know they do that, but they do.
Like I think it'd be cool to like do this kind of thing like in the middle of a haunted place, like at night, just feeling as you like a little bit during, a little bit after, like.
And then you can go back and listen to it and add some sound effects.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get out! Wait, did you hear that?
Yeah.
What was that?
Exactly. You got to spice it up a little.
It'll just be me every like 20 minutes. Get out!
No, yeah, you spice it up a little.
Get out!
You want to know what's an awesome, crazy little town to look up for Michigan, though?
Mm-hmm.
Is Marlboro, Michigan.
That's not a real town.
You'd swear to God.
Do they make
it
cigarettes
is.
there?
Nope.
I'll go to hell.
It was
I'll go to hell, Michigan
actually
first.
located just outside of Baldwin, but within 7 years, it was a full city. It had a school, casino, all that stuff, and it fully fell apart due to a cement mixing company.
They had a documentary about that, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Never heard of it.
You
wasn't very
should
good.
really look into
But
it.
Hell.
Hell would be a good place to do it, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if the cemetery.
But no, I lived out in this like little community, and like I'd always like feel like weird presence, and I set up like this surveillance system, and I'd actually see people out in my yard.
Can I ask you a question?
What's that?
Were you high?
Yeah, but I still have pictures
Okay, but
on my phone to show that there's people actually in my yard,
hold on.
and there's nobody in my yard though.
What if that opens you up more? I'm not condoning that stuff. I'm just saying, like, what if you're more in touch with that other side? You could be seeing shit. I'm just saying,
I don't know.
I feel like that's more dangerous, right? If you want to talk about opening yourself up to Satan,
You think?
going to do it high sounds that you're asking for trouble.
Yeah. Doing anything high, you're asking for trouble, man.
Agreed.
That is
Methamphetamines. Don't ever try meth. You should never do that.
No.
It's not a good idea. That's one that they don't play with. Like when back in my day, you're probably too young for this, Matt. Justin, you are. Tyrone remembers. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
How old are you?
I remember that.
21. And
I am not that much. Like,
No.
we are close. I remember
I
those
just told him I was
commercials,
21.
so I'm
He
just
believes
trying
me.
to, like...
44. But
no, you're not.
yeah. So I
Okay,
know.
there's a 10-year difference.
Yeah.
But still...
You're 54?
Yeah.
No,
I
but
would have pegged you late 30s.
okay. Not bad. Yeah.
That's not blowing smoke up your ass, like, for real.
Yeah, I'll be 45 next summer.
Okay.
I'm growing up fast. But anyway,
I remember those commercials.
yeah, so those commercials, but then like they would tell me, "Oh, you smoke pot, it's going to mess you up." Then you smoke pot and you're like, "Wow, that's better than drinking." And then you get busted for it, and then you get on probation for a year, which causes you to go do drinking and acid and other stuff. But I'm just saying, that's just my story. But so I would always like call BS on the stuff that they would tell me. They're like, "Oh, cocaine, you could die from." And then I'd try. I was like, "Well, okay, like it's way different, you know." But like I didn't die, so like I kept like testing it. Like, oh, so the stuff they say about meth is wrong too. And then no, don't ever try meth. That is something that you don't want to play with. It's not one of those things. And I'm not saying do cocaine or acid or anything either. Just saying, don't ever do meth. That's my public service announcement for the day.
I'm good. To be honest, I don't even know where you would find that.
Meth or acid or cocaine.
Any of it. Really, I lived a very sheltered life that, like, wasn't a thing. I drank my way out of college the first time. I got my ass kicked out.
Wow.
Got a .034 GPA. Like, I didn't even know you could get less than one.
It
Congratulations.
happens. But you're going through some dark times.
Oh, for sure.
You
It was
know.
awful. It
wasn't probably fun drinking. It might have been fun for a
Oh
minute.
no, it was like, well, it was only fun in that I was out of like an iron thumb, right? There was like an oppressive person in my life that like scared the ever loving shit out of me, right? So you get free from that. And then like somebody was like, "Hey, try this beer." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I'm like, "Wow, that was cool." And then 9 months later, my doctor's like, how much have you been drinking? Your liver looks like shit. And I was explaining to my parents why the college was kicking me out. And so I'm like, this was terrible. And it was awful. It was like a terrible time in my life.
So that was a good thing, you know. Like, you probably look at it now, and you work with people where you're like, man, that just destroys people's lives, you know. And you're
Well, I
lucky
look
to
at like the fork in the road at that moment for me, right? I wouldn't say I'm in recovery, not for substances. I did have my own addiction as far as like a process, like women, like that thing, like that wrecked my life, like no other. But I'd say the fork in the road at like Central, like when I went to college, I drank my way out, and then. If I didn't have to move home, I probably would have kept drinking. Yeah. Like, I had to move home back to that oppressive thumb. And so it was just like, I couldn't drink there, right? I was so deathly afraid of, like, the people in the house that it was like, so that became, so it switched over to something that was, like, legal, and I just blew my money on women.
Yeah. And until you have negative consequences or experiences with it, because you had the negative experience with drinking. You had the consequences,
quickly.
So you're like, whoa, don't touch that. And then the women, of course, you probably had negative consequences and results from that. So you're like,
it's what's interesting there is that I didn't feel the negative consequences of that particular addiction until recently, right? Until like now when I'm an adult and like trying to set my life up and being like, wow, all that money I blew would be really nice right now. Like, or I recently, like I collect movies. I love movies, and I used to sell them. Like, I would just walk into FYA with bags of movies to get my money to go to the strip club.
dang.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And so now I'm feeling, right at the time, I'm like, I don't care. Can't keep it.
Right. And it gave you satisfaction. You know, you got that dopamine when you went in there. Same thing when people gamble. It's like, I don't get it.
And it was almost an F you to my dad every time. It was like, you told me women were never going to like me. Well, the ones I pay do.
Right.
No, and some of them might have really did like you, you know, but it's still it's those situations that is it healthy in small doses? Sure. But
and I'm not but like, could I go now? I would never tempt myself now. Right? Like, I've just now, like, I won't go.
Because
I won't tempt it. I'm like, maybe I've grown out of it, right? Like, I've definitely grown since then, but why tempt fate?
Do you ever think about if you'd like say were to drive by and you think, I wonder what new worlds they have there?
I do actually. So I drive by it 5 days a week when I have my kid, because it's the way to school. I drive right by the one I always went to, and I do. I'm like, wonder who's still there. Like, because it's probably been 10 years. Like, it's been 8 since I've been to one, and even then it was weird to be like, wow, you're still here. It's been like 6 years. Like, is this your aspiration? Like, which is fine. Hey, you do you. But
Right.
I'm also just like. That's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
was-
gotta be real rough. 6 years of stripping. That's gotta be real rough.
They call it dancing,
They're exotic
Justin.
dancers.
Yes.
Well, either way. I mean,
But no, that was my vice. That was my thing to make me feel, and it was all the numb it, right? The numb the pain of like the trauma, all that stuff. Like that's how I did it.
Yep.
And to be honest, if it is only because I had no clue where to find any substances, right? Like at that point in my life, if somebody would have offered me something, I absolutely would have taken it.
Wow.
I just didn't know anyone.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't. You know, and not that saying that what you went through wasn't hell, because I'm sure it was, but
No, it's a whole other level that you got.
it's like the psychological part of it. Gambling, like, is bad. You know, and I asked you about that if you wondered now, because you know, with alcohol, we see like they got a new flavor every week, and they're like, And I've had people ask me like, do you ever wonder what that new stuff tastes like? And I'm like, yeah, for like a minute maybe, yeah. You know, I thought, but I've never thought that's a good idea. I'm gonna go taste it.
Yeah.
But how many times before you start? Well, let me just, and I'm at a place now where there's no way in hell. You know,
There's an excitement behind it. Like there was anytime a new girl started,
yeah,
right?
it's
There was
like,
an excitement behind that.
Yeah,
Like,
let me get to know her, because you really
Yeah.
do, you know, and
Yeah.
you form relationships with these people, and just kind of almost like the liquor store, the guy behind the counter.
oh, they got to know. And then what really, like looking back at what I do now, like I would fuel their addictions, right? Like so they would like text me and be like, "Hey, can you bring me a fifth?" I'd be like, "Yeah, why not?" And I would like go buy a fifth and bring it to them.
Yeah.
And I would, like now looking back, I'm like, "Oh my god, like what was I doing?" Like that's awful.
Yeah.
I feel like shit about it now.
Now,
But
now you ghost hunt.
yeah, I mean that's much.
You know, like that's. I mean,
want
that's.
to, so, like,
but it's a healthier hobby.
it so is.
In my opinion, as
Another
a
thing
radio
to do at night,
broadcaster,
right? Yeah, like nighttime, right? Like
a healthy night hobby.
you have a night problem.
I do. I get
you
very
need a
bored.
third shift job, is what you need.
Oh, I had one of those. Are miserable.
Because you couldn't go where you needed to go.
Exactly. Anything that actually messes with my sleep. Like so, when I hear people talk about meth, cocaine, stimulants in general, I'm like, you mess with your sleep. Like that's the part that turns me off of like. I'm not giving up my sleep for nobody.
Except ghosts.
But even then, I'll stay up late. I'll still go to bed though.
Right. Yeah. You're not waiting for the sun to come up. You're just waiting for Satan to come out and talk to you.
Before I forget, though, I'm going to show you
Get
this
out.
aggressive gravestone.
Get out.
Tell me this was not carved out of aggression.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It looks small.
It's a tiny. It is a tiny
1879.
gravestone, but every one of
You didn't
them.
Photoshop that?
Nope, I took a picture of it. Every one of them was nice and pristine, and then there was this Ralph.
You have to send that to me.
will.
We'll post it on our.
It just seemed
217
aggressive. I'm like,
Recovery
just
Facebook.
looking at it, I'm like, this person was. Maybe they were having an off day at work, and they were just like, I don't want to.
It didn't
do
even
this.
have a last name, did it?
No,
I think
but
it's a
none
dog.
of them did. No, none of the like. So they had names on the top because they were old timey, right? That's an old one, and so they had like the last name on top of it. And the thing is, it's a tiny little headstone.
You know what? I got a theory behind this. I
Okay.
think it was a poor family, and they had no money. And the guy that does the tombstone work or whatever is like, "That'll be $76." And they're like, "But we have one." What's his name?
But what about the people around it?
Ralph Smith. No, just first name. What's his name? There you
What
go.
about the people around it?
Well, they had money.
Maybe.
Maybe they're just
no
passing through. Maybe
sense.
they're heading to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and they died. And maybe that's how Fort Smith got populated, because they got there and nobody had sense because they all died off on the way, and they thought, well, this is a good spot for us to shack up.
Yep.
My whole theory on Fort Smith is kind of messed up too. I think that people were on their way to California
Okay.
because it's hot as hell, man. It's like 130 degrees there sometimes, 100% humid. It's horrible. And I think they were going, and there's
It just stopped.
a lot of incest there. And so I think this all began up in the mountains. They got a lot of mountains. So I think like the families were going out there, and they're like, man, I hate Bobby and Sue. Well, let's just leave them.
You know that
And,
happened, right?
Hey, Bobby, Sue, go up there and fetch them blueberries. And like, okay, Daddy. So they go up there, and then shoom, they took off.
Well, there were actually like I like read about like the Donner Party, like the people that ate each other out in like the mountains, like on their way to California.
They ate each other
You don't-
out.
Okay, no. They
In the
ate,
mountains?
like the bodies. Like people would drop dead and they'd eat the bodies.
Oh, okay. I heard something completely
I know you
different.
heard something different.
Eating? Yeah, okay.
No, but they left people behind, right? So they'd hit a certain spot, and the people would just, I'm gonna stay here. I mean, that's what happened. What you're talking about, right? Maybe just they wanted to go west, and they're like, I'm tired. I'll just set up shop here.
Yeah. Answer me this. Mm-hmm. So the first human,
Okay.
was a baby?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I mean, what are we talking? Like human? Like, are we? Hold on. Are you like?
How would we get to Earth?
There's a lot of theories about that.
I can tell you how it happened.
Tell me, please tell me.
Aliens brought us.
What if aliens are just future humans?
They are.
Like time travel.
Makes sense, bro. You know,
then you
because
get chicken egg debate.
Okay, cool. Aliens.
But what if
They invented it, bro.
What if
No,
they're
I don't
humans?
know if they're human. I think they invented humans.
What if they're humans a million years from
It's
now?
a game to them. They're like they
We're just here for
invented some
farming,
people, and
then?
they're like, I want a different people. You know, like okay, so Tyrone, they're like, I want these people to look like this. You know, because that dude was like, hey, I think this is cooler, and they're like, oh, I think this is cooler. These are aliens. That's how they talk. What's cooler? They go with cooler methods, you know. And Tyrone's aliens were like, no, I want my people over here. You know, and the other one's like, I want my people over here. And they're like, now let's make them fight. Let's make them all hate each other.
I am
I'm down for
open
the
to-
alien theory.
I'm open to anything, right? Like
Because it doesn't make sense. Like, if you put a baby on an island, even two of them, how are they going to live, bro? First of all, who's feeding them? Come on, it doesn't make sense. They're going to die. There's no way a baby will make it off an island. I could put a kitten on an island and a baby, and that baby's dying. A kitten will make it. More likely, I would put my money on.
What's on the island?
Kitten.
Well, the kitten's going to
Nothing.
eat the
Water.
baby.
And then the cat's like gonna die too.
There's water.
It can do all you need to survive is water. You just drink water and you're good. You don't eat. You know.
It'd take that baby a lot longer to eat that kitten than it is that kitten to eat that baby.
That's right. That kitten will eat that baby.
Kitten
I'm
will live
open
longer.
to any of it, right? That's right. I just want to be. I just try to keep an open
It just
mind
doesn't
about
make
all
sense.
of it.
You know, like they evolved.
what if-
Okay, so let's just play the evolve game. Like we came from apes, right?
Okay,
That
that's
first
one theory.
ape that came out looking whatever is going to get beaten to death. Did you see chimpanzees? They don't play. They rip your face off.
Okay,
They
but
don't
like,
play.
So then that's factoring in.
They would, because what do dogs do? They eat their ones that are like come out all messed up. They eat them. I don't know if you need the sound effects there, but that's what happens with them. So if a monkey comes out or we come out of a chimpanzee and it looks a little different, they're going to beat it to death.
Maybe, but
It's facts. I'm a scientist.
okay, but I'm a
Sometimes.
parent, and it's just that unconditional
Well, you
love
wouldn't
piece.
eat. No, but
there's a piece of that, right? That like there is a piece of like babies are fucking ugly, man. Like all of them. There are not cute babies.
there's cute babies.
Are we saying that mammals have mercy?
I don't know. what
Besides
he's
for
talking
human
about.
beings?
No, I mean, and when I say
thought we were
I'm
talking about
I don't
chimpanzees
think so.
because
Hold
they'll
on.
rip your face off. Chimpanzees don't care.
Yeah, they don't have
They would
mercy.
eat kittens, and kittens are cute.
When I say there's not cute babies, I mean newborns all look the same. They're little aliens, but you still love it. So that thing that birthed the
Okay,
mutation.
but if you gave birth to a chimpanzee,
Oh my god!
like next time you go to poop and a chimpanzee comes out and you're like, "Oh, we had a baby," you'd flush it. You'd be like,
Was
"I'm
it
not
living?
telling anybody
Is it
about
alive?
that."
Was it alive?
Yeah.
I'm not flushing.
But it's a little
I
chimpanzee.
break for squirrels. I'm not flushing a chimpanzee.
Well, you're different. Your wife would. If she
I'm
had the
not married.
baby,
Thanks.
like if you
I'm divorced. Thanks.
Okay, if you and your ex-wife, let's bring her into the conversation. If you guys would have had a baby and it came out a chimpanzee, you would have handed it back to the doctor and said, "Kill it."
No, I wouldn't.
You'd be the people that had the chimpanzee.
Would I
baby.
hide it? Absolutely. Would I hide it? For sure. I would not.
Tyrone, are my boots over there? Because it is getting deep in here, and I don't want it all over my shoes.
I am not.
I'm just
Everyone
saying,
deserves to live. I don't care. Get hairy, like whatever.
it's an ape. Like you're like, here's an ape baby.
That wouldn't be my first conclusion. I'd just be like, wow, it's a hairy fucking baby.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, and it's like crawling around. It's got a tail, jumping or shitting on the floor. You'd be like, 2 weeks. You'd be like, I get it out of
People
the house
have
now.
monkeys for pets.
Yes,
So would I show people? Absolutely
but it didn't
not.
come
Would
out
I
your
keep
body.
it? Yeah.
And like, how come? Okay, how come?
Pets are one thing.
But I'm just saying, we didn't evolve from apes. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I can't believe people put that in a book.
I'm
My
not
theory.
saying- hold on. That's where I'm like, was there a malevolent creature being bigger than all of us that put us
Yes, and aliens, because even the people
here?
back
Do
in
you
the
think
day
God is an alien?
could be.
Okay.
You could be running shit up there.
All I'm saying is I'm open to all of it, right?
God's everything, bro.
Much like the ghost thing, I need proof, though. I need to see it. I'm
Ancient
open to it.
You need to watch some Ancient Aliens on History Channel.
I'm not
as a
watching those
plug.
people that said.
No. But for real though,
I
like
just gotta have a little bit of faith.
they carve stuff in there. They do all this other stuff, and like that's how they were telling their stories.
Okay.
You know, that they were saying this is what happened, and just because we don't understand what they were saying, then we're like, oh, they're stupid
agree.
people. We don't know that, and I think Joe Rogan's right. I think smart people did
That was
outbreed
the
the dumb
worst
people.
thing I think I've ever heard you say.
The stuff about the purple stuff or what? I don't know what you're talking about. But no, but he's right. You know, smart people getting outbred because that happens.
Idiocracy.
Yes, dude. Look at who we had for president. Look who we have now. I'm telling you, the things I wish. What's his name? Camacho? President Camacho?
Yes.
Yes.
He's a wrestler.
I wish he would
got
come
his
out and
presidency
just
through
when
wrestling.
the crowd gets crazy, start shooting guns. Shut up. We're on our way there. Watch.
I mean, you can't deny it. But I think it comes down to people need to be more open-minded, right? Like
The babies coming out of. Wait.
I feel that's a sign of the apocalypse. I'm sorry. Like if
Yeah,
humans
the
started
chimpanzee
birthing
baby.
actual monkeys,
So,
that's a
So and that's what chimpanzees would think too. If like a baby started transforming, like, hey, that looks like human. Like
What if
that
it was
does not
just
look like
slowly,
me. They
right?
beat
Like-
it to death. They
but
throw it
maybe
up.
it's like had
They beat
less
its head
hair.
on rocks.
It had less hair,
And they
so
eat
you don't
it.
really notice. They're like, it's kind of ugly, but I still love it.
Oh, are you kidding? You don't ever watch Planet Channel, do you? Like they are so mean to the ugly ones. Like if one's a different color, they're like they
But
poop
that's
on them and stuff. They'll
animals.
poop on them right from a tree, right on their head, and then they don't let them mate, so there's no sex because they want to make sure. And then you gotta like fight the other big guy, and they rip
that's
people's. Did I
animals.
mention
Like,
they rip
you are-
people's faces off? Chimpanzees. It's in the news.
Okay, but like you're
Those are primates.
So
Yeah.
if we tie this back to like what we originally started talking about, like, do you believe in the soul? Like, do you believe humans have souls?
Yeah.
Okay, do animals have souls?
Yes.
Are they different?
Different souls.
Like, I guess I'm trying to like.
Can you come back
Humans
as a
are
cat or
different. No, but like,
chimpanzee?
humans are different, right? We have more emotions. Like we have the ability to recognize we're alive.
Oh, cats do. So do dogs. They know they're alive.
Like we do, though.
Yeah.
Like, do they know they're going to die someday?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Because if the dog knew it was going to die someday, it wouldn't act this. Like it'd be.
Well, dogs are stupid, kind of. Dogs will run
give
into
you
a
that.
car like squirrels are pretty smart. Like them little bastards. I don't know how I don't hit more of them.
I break for them.
Oh, that's stupid.
Hold
They're
on.
just messing with
Wait
you,
a
bro.
Yeah,
You don't
right.
ever hit them. Well, my wife did hit one, but
Wait a minute. First, I watched a squirrel get hit yesterday as I'm driving down
that's
the
when
road.
I gave up, man.
But
maybe
it
maybe he
was-
blew out a leg or something. You know,
his
his
agency,
ACL.
right? I'm telling you, it's working with people. It's trying to change people, recognizing the good in people. Where I'm like, this squirrel deserves to live too. I'm not going to hit it.
I think it's like maybe they have an accident, you know, because he blows out a hamstring or
trying to
something.
kill themselves
He's running
like
because
this?
they're like out there, and I'm like, here we go,
Squirrel
buddy.
suicide.
And then I look in the mirror, nothing ever. I'm like, that little sneak. And he's just gone.
Suicide
Sometimes
by
I think
car?
to like grab my car and just catch a ride somewhere.
My point is, humans are different than animals. You
Sneaky
can't compare.
bastards.
You can't compare.
I think
But sometimes
that
when
too.
you hit them, though, I think that is, they're like,
it's true.
my back. You know,
Can't compare though.
because you imagine having that kind of back pain. If being a squirrel, they're jumping around all day in trees and shit.
But they're used to. You can't imagine it. But
And they're trying
used
to
it.
do their Barry Sanders move, trying to get out of the way. And they're like, watch
Their
this.
bodies are built for that, right? Like that's what they're built for.
And they're like, that's what. And they're like teaching the other ones around the woods, teaching their kids, like, that's why you don't let up, bro. You get hurt, you still roll. You still roll. You keep rolling. You can't just.
No.
Uncle Sammy, that's why he's dead. He didn't have that get right.
No, that's not. That's,
He didn't have that get right. He's gone. Gone to squirrel soul heaven.
I can't. I just.
I can't.
It's such a bigger conversation, right? That's the.
And I think that's how they bury their dead is with nuts. And like people think, oh, they're gathering for the winter, and they're like, nah,
That's like their coffin.
yeah, we're burying Sam. Little helmets on them or something. The walnut
Do they
helmet.
eat it though? Do they come back and eat it? You think?
They could. I don't know.
And it's like maybe it's soaked in squirrel juice.
You ever see anybody go squirrel hunting and then like look down on the ground? They're like, squirrel droppings.
Why do people go squirrel hunt? I don't understand.
Yeah, they eat them or something.
Squirrel's good.
Shut up. What does it taste like?
Chicken.
Don't fucking say chicken.
No, it's just it tastes a little gamey. But
Chicken's
it's
What
good.
is gamey? Explain to me what gamey means, because
To me, it tastes like crap. Is what.
that's what I'm trying to
gamey
say.
means.
Is like you cannot tell me a squirrel. There's like no meat on that
Tastes a
thing.
little
It's
like
tiny.
crap.
Yeah, it's tiny, but
You gotta
they're
boil it
still
for
good eating.
16 hours,
Yeah,
and you
like-
get like just a little bit off of it.
What do you eat
It's
with it?
worth it, bro. It's real greasy.
What do you
Potatoes?
season it in?
Garlic, onion.
You cannot tell me it tastes good. You will never convince me a squirrel tastes good.
Oh yeah, the black ones are the best.
Whoa, Tyrone and Justin sitting right next to each other. Tyrone's like, hell yeah, black ones are the best.
What is it? There's no.
The black
they're
and the
same.
gray squirrels. No.
It is literally their fur color.
Yeah.
A squirrel's a squirrel. There's different kinds, but I'm also like, I feel like they probably taste the same, right?
Tyrone.
There's different kinds of chicken, but it still tastes like chicken.
No, chickens taste different.
Is this guy?
What are you talking
Drug
about?
test. We got one around
I'd
here.
say I'll go find a UA.
Hand the mic to Tyrone.
You can't tell me a little garnish hen tastes.
But you looked
the
at a
same
squirrel.
as a big
Hold on.
white chicken.
Yeah, there's that chicken taste. You looked at a squirrel and were like, I want to taste that. I'm going to eat it.
Just a
Yeah.
little gamey.
Yeah, like why?
A little greasy.
I don't. What's the
Why not?
challenge? They're everywhere. So like at least like for hunting other things, there's challenge. What's the challenge in killing a squirrel?
I want to shoot
Have you ever
one
tried
to eat it.
killing a squirrel? They're hard to shoot at.
My dad killed 30 squirrels one summer.
Oh, let's one up them.
So like I'm just saying that.
My dad killed 45 yesterday.
No, I'm just saying like they didn't seem easy to.
All
They
at
seemed
once.
pretty easy to kill that summer.
No, they're kind of hard. With 22.
We didn't eat them though.
I like to
But
taste
at least
of,
you're eating the thing you kill. I guess that makes sense.
Right.
Just
But
like
I still
chimpanzees.
No.
Eat what they kill.
So you really like? So what is your actual theory then? Like
Aliens, man. I think aliens created us, and like there's a bunch of different races of aliens, or just a couple different aliens are like, I want to do that too, and let's put them there. And
that's real close to the South Park theory of like we're just like a reality TV show for aliens, and that in reality there's like a planet of white people and a planet of all these, and they just picked some off of each one and put them on a planet. Let's see how they get along.
And yeah, we can call the alien God. You know, like God, they say is everything. It could so God, yeah, God's the alien, whatever. You know, we were put here
But
just
where did the aliens come from?
like that. God, man.
So right, so I'm saying there's something bigger, right? Like gotta be. I'm open to it. I guess I'm open to all of it.
Yeah, but the whole evolution thing, you can see why I'm not buying it.
I can.
Because chimpanzees.
But and that's right. Like I have to be open to the other
whatever.
thing to be open to ghost, right? I can't be like, well, we can't evolution. If I believe that, then what's the point of going to a cemetery? Right, then you just die and there's nothingness. And so
Yeah, I
there's
don't-
no
I don't
point,
believe
right?
that.
So then I'm like, no, that's not true.
No, just in my experience with being touched and all the other freaky stuff, and you know, and people say, yeah, but that's a demon, that's a devil. I'm like, well, yeah, you can't believe in one without the other.
I'm not saying I don't believe.
You
I'm
know.
also just saying it's a bit of an assumption to assume every ghost or entity is evil.
The good ones never come back.
How do you know, though? I feel like if I give them the truth, I'd come back just to mess with people. It'd be fun.
Hey, wouldn't
They're
you be
called
like, why would I do
guardian
that?
angels, though,
I'm
if-
up in
if you
heaven,
believe
and
it.
they're going to be here
But
in like
eternity's
6
a
seconds.
long time, too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Not when there's not a time, bro.
Eternity's forever. It's never ending.
Yeah, for them. So, okay, so for us, we live 70 years, right? So if you live eternity, the time for that is like nothing.
So maybe
like,
it's not
what's
your grandma,
70?
but what if it's a dude what if it's some entity that lived 1,000,000 years ago? Like, hey, I want to come back and mess with Earthlings.
Yeah, for him, he's already, like, if he's already up in heaven, like, he died 1,000,000 years ago. My grandma got there for us 6 seconds
Okay,
later.
so I'm not saying it's your grandma.
Or whoever.
What I'm saying is, what if it is just some guy
Mm-hmm.
that died a very long time ago that not
For
saying
us, long time ago for us, not for
right,
people
for
in
us,
heaven.
for us.
Because
And
time
he's just
is
like, hey, this sounds like fun. This is something to do. Maybe it's one of the things you can do in the afterlife is just go mess with people on Earth in like a fun way.
if you can't come back, that's something we should look into this, because maybe we can come back whenever we kind of want. We got to wait on a list up there, but it's eternity, so it could take you eternity to get another body to come back and experience life again.
Okay.
So maybe that's the people that are like, oh man, I got number 60,025,000,025. Oh, I'm never gonna. Hey, buddy, I know how you can get back for a little bit. Okay, let me try it.
Yeah.
Just come over here and do this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
all
And
I'm
then so next thing you know, they got the raw end of the deal because they didn't realize they were coming back as a demon man who they can't really be human. So they're like, shit, we're stuck in this little middle place. I need to write a book, don't I?
Are you saying
I mean-
almost like a Monster Inc. type thing?
I have no idea what you're talking
No.
about. No idea what you're talking about. Monster Inc.
You never
The
seen
movie,
the cartoon, The Monster Inc.?
He doesn't have kids.
No,
he
I'm not.
doesn't have kids. That's
No.
right.
He's too old. It's out. It's he's too old for it.
You should go home and watch it.
I should not. We're
It's
going to
fine.
a comedy show later.
No, but
I'm going to go home and watch Monsters Inc.
I'm
Crazy.
just saying it's an assumption.
Okay, now I'm gonna watch
It's an assumption to say they're evil.
Okay.
I look at it like okay, so a lot of people, and I come from a whole family of them, think like people in recovery are bad, right? They think all you guys should be locked up, throw away the key.
Most of us. No,
That's an assumption, right? Like it's great. You guys are all you're people. You're good, bad. We all are people. And so I'm like, it's an assumption to assume everything that touches you in an afterlife is wanting to do evil, and not either hey, my presence is here, or hey, just hi, let's talk.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they try to trick you into being, hey, I'm nice. Come over here, do that.
Their
Set
version
your house
of like
on
a van
fire.
that says ice cream and naps is
Yeah, why would they? I don't know. Like, if heaven's supposed to be great, okay, why would they come back? They wouldn't. And I think, again,
what if this is just a piece of the heaven experience?
my time
Is coming to
period,
mess with people.
Why would that be fun?
I don't know. I'm not over
I think
there.
they got.
I'm just open to
I think
it.
it's people coming back. They got the wrong stuff, the wrong guy. They believe in the wrong people. They got sent back, but they're not human.
So what if it's like an addict version of in the afterlife? They believe the wrong thing, got hooked on the wrong thing, and then they're here. It's a bit of a jump to say they're evil. They're just at the wrong moment in time, right?
Yeah, not
Like,
all of them. I don't think all of them, but I
Or
think there's a
maybe they're
lot of
just
them.
Comedians.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they're just messing with us.
What the?
Yeah, they're just comedians.
Or they
Some
were
of them.
tricked. Somebody lied to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody lied, but that doesn't mean they're bad. They were just kind of stupid.
Or they were never human or in heaven to begin with, and Satan's
somebody
like,
told them.
"How much you go up there?" What if Satan has like
What
a
does he
like
get
a
out
hit
of it,
list?
though?
He's like, "Hey Tom, I need 6 more souls this week from you, buddy. Get out there and get some."
how does he get them then? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how does that person reaching out to touch you, that entity, whatever that is, what does that do for Satan?
It helps him get more power, so he can get them souls. Them
But
spirits.
he's also in a realm of no time, right? So like what? Like I'm just saying that.
He needs more people.
So it could be
More
that, or it
souls.
could just as likely be just bored people who
wants
just want to
power.
mess with someone.
People don't do stuff because they're bored. They do stuff because they want power.
I do stuff because. Why do you think I went to a cemetery? I was bored.
Because you wanted power over Satan.
No, I was bored and thought
You
it
wanted
would
power
be
to.
fun.
You wanted to join Satan's cause. That's why you wanted the Ouija board, and you don't even know it.
I also find it really hard to believe that something made at a factory is evil, like that. Like, a machine presses that board out. Right now, there are thousands being made at a factory. That's their job, right? They go home from the Ouija board factory.
How
at
else
night.
is it going to get made? By the guy who carved Ralph's headstone?
That's what I'm saying. Yes,
He
I've seen
died.
it. I went on Etsy there.
That guy's died. He died a long time ago.
Right. Got an angry headstone.
I'm just saying, it's a bit of a jump. You got if you're open to one side of it, you should be open to the other side.
I don't know if you saw my shirt today.
I did. Yeah.
Jesus is a big fan.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wore that today
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
because I needed Jesus here with me for this
I'm not
podcast. No, but it was fun chatting with you, man.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of having a healthy hobby. And I really know we were joking around, making fun, but it's fun. That's what we
No,
do.
it is. This is fun.
You know,
this
like
is fun.
some people are like, you're not talking recovery. You don't get it then. If somebody's saying that, they don't understand
But
why
there
we
was
do this
stuff
podcast.
sprinkled in there, so
Yeah, a little bit. Made people think maybe, or made them punch their steering wheel or whatever.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I definitely opened about some stuff that I probably never would have said before. It took like years of therapy to get to the point to be like, oh yeah, I really screwed my life up a long time ago.
But that's the beauty of it, you know. And I if you need any help with that, man, let me know. And I really, really do, honest. And I think Justin, maybe Tyrone, would be interested in going checking out some stuff in Traverse City. And
Yeah.
even if we went out there, like we don't need to bring a whole table and all the setup, but we can bring stuff to record stuff, and we
Yeah.
can listen to it back, and that'd be fun. It'd be very, very cool to do.
I will keep you in the loop. I honestly will.
Do you have a name for your stuff yet?
No, this is really just like something that's like been percolating in my head, just like that, like early thoughts of like how could I do this? What could I do? Like, would be a legal way to do it too, as far as like it'd be cool to go to the state hospital, but it's not like I want to break the law and like break into one of those buildings. Like it'd be cool to like reach out to like the owner and be like, hey, would you let us in here for a little
I
bit?
probably
to do this?
shouldn't say this on this podcast, but I'm on the Human Rights Commission here in Traverse City, Michigan. So
What is that?
I don't know. I met the mayor once. So I mean, I
Right?
know people.
I actually feel it's like some shady company that probably owns those buildings.
I know
but
people, but I know people. I can be like, hey, this is our human right to go investigate ghosts.
I mean, I just like
Maybe I shouldn't use that card.
But I'm sure
maybe
there's also
not yet.
cemeteries, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff we could do around here that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, even people's houses. You know,
Yeah.
like I saw somebody, especially as we get closer to Halloween. Somebody was asking on like TC Help Me Out or Fun Group. I don't know. There's a bunch of them. Somebody was like, "Does anybody know Exorcist or something?" They put on there, and people were like, "Is this for real? This is a joke?" But you'd be surprised if you're like, "Hey, we want to ghost hunt in your house."
But like this, I'd also like it's the same kind of thing. Like, when I think about this, I'm like, it'd be cool to talk to somebody that does exorcisms.
Yeah,
just tell us some
I don't think
stories.
they can talk about it. It's kind of like
No?
you and your job, you know, as therapists. You know, people like, hey, tell me, no, can't do it.
You could talk in vague terms though. Like I could tell you, not like I'm about to, but like I'd be like, hey, I had a client once do this, this, or this. I'm not giving you any specific information about that person.
So I could be like, hey, have you ever had a client had a problem putting stuff up his butt?
Like yeah, like I could like. There's no specifics there.
Tell me about it.
No, I'm not saying I have it. I'm just saying I could say yes or no, right? Like,
bad examples.
Doctors probably talk about like weird stuff. They just can't give you like a name and address, like a
John Smith over there, man.
Yeah, like that.
Let me tell you what that guy did.
That's the illegal piece.
Yeah, unless you sign a waiver, apparently, or unless you die. Then if you're dead, then
exactly.
fair's fair. Then
exactly.
But anyway, Matt, thank you so much for
you.
coming on. Justin, thanks for being on too. Talk about squirrels and their deliciousness.
Yeah.
And Tyrone, thanks for throwing in whatever you could.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Winfield.
I appreciate it. And we're going to go see some comedy tonight. Can't wait for that. It's going to be Sam Hill opening up. I guess he's opening up for Curtis Matthews. It's at the Opera House. Tyrone and I got the ticket. We're going to go. It's going to be fun. And if you need more info, go check that out. But yeah, thanks for the people who did listen live and for those people listening late. Thanks for listening and whenever you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thanks.